Today we continue with our class Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we start with Sefer Chofetz Chaim. The big topic is the same many forms of gossip, and today's topic cynicism. It is forbidden to relate the members of the community, family, or organization that someone spoke cynically his group. Of his group. Okay. To do so is to speak rechilus. Right? So somebody spoke about this community, this nationality, this right cynically, so we cannot tell them. Okay. Because why? It is rechilus. So rechilus is to say over, to tell over whatever somebody spoke about that person. This is true even when the members of that community, family, or organization regularly joke about themselves. And they can joke about themselves wherever they want, but does not mean that we can say about them. Okay. Okay. Therefore, mentioning to students that someone spoke negatively of their school is speaking rechilus. Okay. It should be noted that the joking about one's own school generally wants lashon hara. Okay, so generally involves lashon hara, right? Or at least avak lashon hara. So I mean, if you're in that school and you speak badly about the school, that's not a good sign, right? So we stop here. Sorry. So we continue. 1 second. We continue with Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and the Siman is 35. And we start with the topic is laws of Challah. I think we at the very end of the two more halachas. All right. So Sif number 8, and it says like a little introduction. Although the mitzvah of Challah is incumbent upon the owners of the door, he may appoint another adult Jew to perform the mitzvah on his behalf. One may not, however, perform a mitzvah on behalf of the owner without being specifically appointed. Okay. In this CF, we will see the exception to this rule. So generally, when you're doing the mitzvah, you can appoint someone to do a mitzvah for you, right? In many cases, not always, but many cases. But here, introduction said. So why we are allowed to do that? Because it is beneficial. It brings the merits to the person, right? To who sent you or who appointed you as a shliach, right? But in the midst of the Challah, so in the owner's mind, it maybe we're going to see maybe he's losing something. Okay, so let's see. The mitzvah of setting aside Challah belongs to the woman who is the lady of the house. So it's not every okay. So commentaries say, it's explained in 72:6, women have unique responsibility with regard to the mitzvah. Okay. So it's one of the things that women, as descendants of Chava, right, they have to do this mitzvah. Okay. As we learned in our Shabbos class, so she extinguished the Challah, meaning Adam, and now she has to do tikkun, correction, has to do the Challah, mitzvah of the Challah. However, if woman is not at home, and there is a reason for concern, by the time she comes home, the dough will spoil. Then a Jewish maidservant or another person may set it aside Challah. Okay. So the primary responsibility of a woman of the house, if not, another Jewish servant or somebody else, adult, your husband can. Okay. Continue. Sif number 9. If one forget to set aside Challah on Erev Shabbos, that is Friday, then if the dough was needed outside of Eretz Israel, one may eat from it on Shabbos even before the Challah is set aside. Okay. Even before the Challah is set aside. However, one must leave over one piece and separate challah from it after Shabbos has ended. The piece, 1 second. Okay, the piece left over must be large enough so that one can set aside challah from it. And some will still remain that is fit for a non-sacred use. For we require that the portion of the challah, the portion that remains after challah is set aside, be identifiable. And if when Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, that's a disaster. They forgot to set aside challah from the loaves that they baked in honor of Shabbos. There is a greater dilemma regarding how to resolve this issue. Therefore, each person must take care on Erev Shabbos to remind his household about the requirement setting aside challah. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go with details. Okay, and we're going to read it again. And so just to explain the situation. So the proper time to set aside challah. So challah, to explain who miss our previous classes, is a piece of dough. So if you make a dough batch, and if it's more than what was it, 2.2 pounds. Just 1 second. Let's see if I can find 5 pounds for sure. If it's with the blessings, I'm looking, right? But let's say 2.2 pounds without blessing. Okay, yeah. Here we go. It's sample. It's 2 pounds and 10 ounces, right? So 2 pounds and 10 ounces. If you have so much dough, right? So you're obligated to set out challah and take piece of this dough, right, without blessing. And if it's almost 5 pounds, it's 4 pounds and 15 ounces, 15.4 ounces. So you set aside piece of this dough with blessing. And in olden days when we had the Beis Hamikdash, you would have to give it to a Kohen. Today we don't have Kohen, so we have to destroy this piece of challah. Okay, that's challah mean not the bread, but this piece of dough. So it says how much to set aside. Technically almost any amount, but preferably the size of kizayas, which is 28 grams approximately. Okay, so here the last Siyaf is talking about, okay, we did not do it. Okay, did not do it, and we baked challah as it is, right? So now what should we do? So technically, this piece of challah, as we said before, it's considered to be not kosher food, right? So if it mixed back with the dough, you're not allowed to eat it. You have to separate, and we discussed. I'm not going to repeat all of the beautiful kiddushim that we said, how to discern, can you eat it, you cannot eat it. So it's in previous class, 2 previous classes, I guess. Right? But here is the thing. So now that's it. They did not do all of these things, and they baked it. So the solution is, especially in outside of Eretz Israel, since for sure it is, according to all of the opinion, it's rabbinical. Right? They say you can eat the bread, right, on Shabbos, and after the Shabbos you have to separate the challah. You are not allowed to separate challah on Shabbos, and why? We explained, because it's like you fixing, right? You fixing things, meaning what? It was not allowed before, and now you did whatever you did, some positive action, and become allowed, right? Became permissible. That's the issue. Okay, so that's a summary of what we said in the last 3 hours, basically, previous classes. Okay. So CF number 9 from the beginning with commentaries. If one forgot to set aside Challah on Erev Shabbos, this Friday, commentary, as stated earlier, when the Challah is not set aside from the door, the obligation must be fulfilled after baking. So, okay, there is a possibility to fulfill after baking, right? However, on Shabbos, one may not set aside Challah. The reason for this is that since one is not permitted to partake of the bread before setting out Challah, right, it appears as though one is fixing the bread, right? And this is rabbinically forbidden on Shabbos. Okay, see Mishnah Brura, etc. Okay, so if one forgot, for example, on Monday, he can set aside a piece of bread before starting eating, and there is no problem. Of course, one has to calculate, even if we say kazayist, I have to do clarification. When we said, for example, with a blessing, we said almost 5 pounds. It's 5 pounds of flour, not the dough. I apologize, I misspoke. And same with 2 pounds and 10 ounces without the blessing, and up to 10 pounds. It's flour, pure flour. So it's a lot dough, a lot of dough, a lot. Okay. Okay, so now after they already baked, they have to separate piece of bread, basically. Okay. Okay, continue. So of course, I mean it's not going to be. I'm not sure how to calculate kizayas of flour from the bread because it's a water and it's air. So okay, so you can, I guess you can do less than kizayas. Okay, in these circumstances. Okay, so one more time. If one forgot to set aside Challah on Erev Shabbos, this Friday, then if the dough is needed outside of Eretz Israel, so here for living in diaspora we have a discount, one may eat from it on Shabbos even before Challah is set aside, right? So it's a very, very big and helpful leniency. Commentary. As indicated in the introduction to our Siman, dough needed outside of Eretz Israel was never included in biblical obligation of Challah. And the source of the obligation is rabbinical. So, but we can understand this, the reason, because once all of the Jews would come back, Beezrat HaShem, in our days, to Eretz Israel, so we would know what to do, because we got used to separate Challah. But that time around, we would have to give it to coin in. Okay. Therefore, when necessary, as on Shabbos, I mean, there's no other way. As we said, we cannot fix Challah on Shabbos, right? One may partake of the bread even before setting aside Challah, and leave over some of the bread for which to separate Challah after Shabbos, as will be explained by Kitzur. So basically, they allow us to leave, but they say leave over more than piece of the Challah, because when we say separate, I mean you separate a piece from a bigger piece, right? So it cannot be that only leftover that is Challah. However, if the dough was needed in Eretz Israel, where the requirement is based upon the Torah obligation, Challah must be set aside before one partake of it. Since this is prohibited on Shabbos, one may not eat this loss of Shabbos. So it's very clear there is no two opinions. Okay, so they say if it's in Eretz Israel, that's a big problem. Big problem. So they cannot eat this Challah. They cannot eat this Challah, and they cannot set it aside. Challah meaning the breads. They cannot eat the breads that was baked, and they cannot set aside Challah. Challah meaning a piece of the dough or baked bread. However, one must leave over one piece. So we're going back to diaspora case, right? So he eats during the Shabbos. However, one must leave the piece over, all right, and separate Challah from it after Shabbos ended. 25. With regard to similar situation, Yom Tov, see 98:11. So we're going to get to 98. Okay. So I mean a similar case. actually similar, but not very similar. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm not sure what they're going to do if there are 2 days of Yom Tov. So in this case, it's just my understanding. We have to make sure exactly that it was that we baked enough to set aside challah. We had enough flour to set aside challah. Maybe not. So we have to carefully examine that. Maybe we didn't need we didn't need like initially to set out challah. Maybe. The piece left over must be large enough so that one can set aside challah from it, and some still remain that fit for the non-sacred use. So as we tried to explain before, you set out challah, you cut whatever pieces that you're going to set aside as a challah for a coin, right, which we're going to destroy, and the piece should still remain. Okay. We require that the portion that remains after challah has been set aside be identifiable. So let's see how much is identifiable. Very interesting. One cannot set aside the entire dough, right, for the challah obligation. A portion of the dough is not designated as a challah, must remain after the challah, must be separated. So meaning, I mean, when we say when we use the word separated, it means separate from something bigger. So maybe it's a smaller piece. Yeah, not maybe for sure. It's a smaller piece, but you must separate it from a bigger piece, right? So they say you cannot, even if you want. I want to dedicate the whole piece of dough to a coin. I want to give it to a coin. So Shulchan Aruch said not allowed. You have to separate and remain with a bigger piece, of course. Even if the bread was originally larger, as in a case where he is setting aside challah, after the most of the bread has been eaten, something must remain of the bread after the challah is set aside. As we said, but in different words, so it must be some remainder after you set aside, after the fact, after the Shabbos. Therefore, one should leave over slightly more the amount that will be set aside, separated of the challah. See Mishnah Brura 546:22. Okay. According to this custom cited by the Kitzur in CF1, one should leave over something more than kizay's size piece, so that the the portion will be set aside as a challah can be set aside of kizay's, can be size of kizay, of kizay's, right? So basically, kizay's, as we said, it's 28 grams approximately. So, but so the challah is measured not from the flour. So the requirement of the challah is defined in the volume of the flour needed, but the challah is separate from the dough after you mix it. So it's a flour with water. So here, I guess one slice of bread, something like that, should be enough. Continue. If on Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, that's I think that was this week. I think no, this year. Maybe not. I don't remember. So basically, but it's possible. A few years ago, it was the case. So you have Shabbos. You're obligated to eat bread, and you're not allowed to eat matzahs, right, on Shabbos. I mean, on Erev Pesach. Why? Because tradition is 30 days before Pesach, we stopped eating matzah, so you would eat on Erev Pesach. You eat with appetite. Some people start one week before, but okay. Anyway, nobody eats for sure 1 day before Pesach or Erev Pesach. Nobody eats matzah. That's for sure, right? So now, so on Shabbos you have to eat 2 breads, right? So you have these 2 breads, and people forgot to set out challah, and now. That's a very tough situation, basically, right? You cannot set away challah, right? And the next day is Pesach. So and on Pesach you're not allowed to have I mean, on Pesach, you're not allowed to handle the chometz. You're not allowed to have chometz. That's a big issue. So let's see from the beginning. So I mean, that he said it's an issue. If when Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, they forgot to set aside challah from the loaves that they baked in honor of Shabbos, there is a great dilemma regarding how to resolve the issue. I mean, just even we sound like going deep inside, but we understand it's like catch 22. What exactly you should do? 27. Sorry, commentary. If one baked chometz, there is 11 loaves for the use of this Shabbos, but did not set aside challah from them, he will not be able to set aside challah from the loaves after Shabbos. Because why? Because it's Pesach, right? Since Pesach immediately follows the Shabbos, he will no longer be permitted to have any remnant of loaves in his possession, since all chometz must be removed from one's possession before Pesach. Although the authorities offer a number of suggestions that can be followed, in this situation there is no clear solution. See the next note. Okay, there is no clear solution. So basically what we do in our family, so we try to to make this challah the tiniest as possible, so we know how many people are going to eat. So, and people at this specific Shabbos, we eat the minimum amount to make sure that we finish with all bread completely. There's nothing to dispose of, right? When it follows by Pesach. Okay, so continue. Therefore, each person must take care on Erev Shabbos to remind his household about the requirement of setting aside challah. Okay, Sefer, the end of the Siman 115. Commentary. There on 115.6, Kitzur cites a position of Maggid Avraham that if one did forget, there is no recourse other than to give all of the bread to idolater as a gift before the time that it is forbidden to own chometz. See notes there for further discussion. So we're talking about the loss of Pesach here. So you're allowed to eat to own chometz, I think by the fourth hour, right? By the end of the fourth hour, you have to get rid of from your possessions, or fifth hour. I think it's fourth hour, right? Actually fifth, but rabbinically it's actually fourth, I think, right? So, but you can give it to somebody else. You can give it to a neighbor, give him challah. Okay, Christine, this is yours. Please enjoy. Fresh bread, Jewish bread. It's all blessed. They would ask, is the bread blessed by a rabbi? The biggest rabbi. So they would enjoy it, and that's according to Kitzur. I mean, that's the best solution. So this Shabbos, you're going to be without challah. What can you do? Okay. So we finish. Is there any questions? Okay. All right, no problem. So we continue with the next Siman. Next subject, Siman 36. And the title is The Loss of Sultan. Okay, you can say the Sultan does not apply to us, but it does apply. Right, so, and it's Kitzur, so I think he will be pretty brief. Okay, so but at least we will see and we review the laws of the kashrus. Okay, so the laws of Sultan. It is so I just give you one example. So I was buying yesterday, right, the chicken from a butcher, right, a local butcher, and the lady came. Did not look very observant, but she came to buy kosher meat. So she was Jewish, of course, and she asked for a liver. And the guy was cutting her liver, right, prepared, and I told you, do you know that you have to like grill? You cannot eat the liver like that. And she was surprised, like nobody told her. And I'm not sure why butcher did not tell her. Did not tell her. I mean, that was a great surprise. But if you buy the fresh liver, you have to grill it over the open flame, right? So the blood would go somewhere. Otherwise, I asked her, well, what do you do with the liver? She said, I would fry it. So that's a big issue. So she would eat, that's a clear recipe for chorus, right? Meaning eating the blood inside of the meat. Okay. So usually, I mean, people who buy liver, they know, but not everybody know. I mean, she did not look too religious, so that's why I asked her. And Baruch HaShem, she did not buy. She bought a different piece of meat, but that's the story. Okay. So if you in situation like that, so always like nicely ask me. Not everybody knows, and she was surprised. Like she was buying meat for I don't know how long time, how many years, but nobody told her. That's a big issue. Okay. So continue. It is forbidden to consume blood of both animals and poultry. Okay, here we go. Right, blood we cannot eat. Period. This prohibition applies to any blood that has either emerged from the meat at one point or pooled in some of the animal blood vessels, but does not apply to the blood that has been absorbed and remained absorbed in a place in the meat of the animal. Okay, so let's stop here, and we're going to go back and review and explain. So everybody knows about the prohibition of blood. Cannot eat blood. Okay. What constitutes blood? Because when you buy the piece of meat from the store, and it has this tray, right? This I don't know. It's not plastic, but well, this tray, right? And you see that there's red liquid. So or when you wash this piece of meat, or a piece of chicken, you see there's a red liquid, and guess what? This is blood, right? But this blood is, even though it's blood, the remainder of the blood, halachically it is not blood, right? So here it's introduction. We didn't start yet this year. So here Kitzur explained what does it mean halachically blood? What blood exactly is forbidden? Because as we understand, right, that it's impossible to get every ounce of blood or every drop of blood from the meat. It's impossible, right? Because of there is tiny blood vessels and they clot. And how exactly you're going to get the blood out? Okay, so there is some blood that would be permissible, meaning that it's not halachically considered blood, and some blood that is forbidden, right? So let's see. So we're talking about forbidden blood. Okay, so one more time the whole sentence. This prohibition applies to blood that either emerged from the meat at one point. So, okay, let's stop here. So when they do shchita, so they drain the blood, right, from the animal, but some blood can get absorbed back. That's the issue. So that blood is forbidden. Right, that's why you wash right away 1 time or 2 times. We're going to learn, and with salt. Okay. Okay. So one more time. They either emerged from the meat at one point, or pulled in some of the animal's blood vessels. Right. So the blood of the butcher, and they know, of course, the anatomy, and they know how to cut these blood vessels. So of course you're not allowed to eat them, right? So you have to cut them away. Okay. So the blood in those blood vessels, even if it clogged and something, it's still forbidden. But does not apply to the blood that has been absorbed and remained absorbed in a place in the meat of the animal. Okay. So here. Kitzur is saying, it's not Kitzur, it's an introduction to Kitzur, right? So the author of the book is saying, right, that translator, let's put it, translator is saying that there is a blood that got absorbed into the meat is no problem, it's actually allowed, right? Okay, so that's actually this pink stuff, red stuff that you see. That's from allowed blood. In the process of cooking, blood emerges from the meat and from the blood vessels. Okay, this blood is prohibited. So that's why we have to get rid of this blood before we start cooking. This blood is prohibited, and if reabsorbed into the meat, can cause the meat to become prohibited. Right. So another thing, if you grill this piece of meat, so if you grill off the fire and it has the place where for blood to flow, to drip on a fire or somewhere, so there is no problem, right? But you have to get it out of the meat somehow. In addition, some of the blood may become absorbed into utensils in which the meat is cooked, and cause this utensil to be prohibited for a future use. So basically, I didn't tell this lady about the utensil because she was shocked enough, right? But basically, what this frying pan, whatever she used for cooking this liver, she would need to kosher, right? And how do you kosher a frying pan? You have to make it, take a torch or something, and make it like red hot. So it's don't try it at home, but that's how the only way to kosher this frying pan, unless it has not metal and some different composite material, so we could be lenient, but still. Okay, continue. To prevent this, before cook, the case we're talking about when we did not extract blood completely, right? So what do we do now? We cooked it as it is. So now the blood came out from the piece from the meat and got absorbed into your cooking pot, right? So now you have to kosher this cooking pot, right? There's two issues. So meat is forbidden, and cooking pot is also forbidden. To prevent this, before cooking meat, one must extract all of the blood that is absorbed within the meat. The sages determined that proper salting of the meat prior to cooking, when accomplished with thorough rinsing, effectively extracts blood. Of course, as we said, it's not going to extract all of the blood, but halachically, is going to be considered as it extracts all of the blood. So we rinse a few times, and then we salt for a specific amount of hours. So we're going to see there is leniency, like I don't remember exactly, maybe 45 minutes is the least in case of the strong meat, but otherwise like few hours, I think 2 hours or 3 hours. Okay, continue. Alternatively, the meat can be roasted over the fire, exactly as you said, right? Which will draw out the blood. Okay, so just make sure that there is no barriers for this blood to flow down, and that's it. This procedure, known as Kashering, and the laws that are relevant to the process are outlined in this Siman. So that's just give you the roadmap what we're going to learn in this Siman. So it's very interesting. If you never learned before, I think it's a lot of new material. But if you learn it, still it's always beneficial to review it. So CF number 1. Before salting meat, one must rinse it extremely well in water. Okay. Right. So of course they cut in pieces, and now they have to rinse extremely well in water. So commentary. Number 1. Meat must be soaked prior to salting for several reasons. The two primary reasons are soaking softens the meat, and thus enables the salt to draw draw out the blood. That's very important, right? And number 2, the salt draws out only moist blood. So if the blood is dried inside of the meat, it's the salt is not going to get it out, right? Without soaking, the dry blood on the dry blood on the surface of the meat will remain there, right? And then absorb into the meat at the conclusion of salting process. See your Regrettably 61.1 with the commentaries and Prima Gedim, introduction to laws of salting. Okay, so but for us that's commentaries enough. So we say that before salting we have to rinse very good. One reason is to soften the meat, right? And then another one to make right to make the blood is mixed with water, basically, to get it out of the meat. Okay. Continue. To accomplish this, one must soak it in the water for approximately half an hour. Okay, so in water. For it is necessary for this process that the water covers the entire piece of meat. Where there is a visible blood on the surface of the meat, one must rub it with water in which it is being soaked, and remove the blood. So I mean, whatever you see, it's simply logical. Whatever, if you see the stains of blood like vessels, so blood vessels you have to cut off, cut away, carve away, right? Because there is no way to kosher them, right? And if you see the stain of blood, so you have to remove them, like rub them off. Similarly, before salting poultry, one must rub the place of the slaughter. There is a cut in the neck, well to remove blood. So of course, when they cut the neck, there is the most blood, because all of the blood were coming out through this piece, right? So they say rub it off. Similarly, one must rub the internal meat surfaces where there is a visible blood. So okay, inside, of course, we remove organs for inspections, right? And you have to rub the visible blood. Okay. Sometimes there is found within the meat of poultry a spot where the blood has coagulated under the flesh as a result of the wound. So that's the problem, right? So it's like it will be black spots, right? So it's under the flesh because of the wound. In this case, one must cut it open, the spot, and remove the gathering of blood before soaking the meat. So the blood itself, so the wound itself is not an issue. Most of the times, if it's under the skin, that's not it's not an issue itself. But the blood is, so you have to cut open to remove the blood. Okay. Commentary. Coagulated blood is not extracted in the salting process because, as we understand, it's like it's congealed, right? It's like jello. Of course, it's not going to get extracted. So the only blood that is going to get extracted, as we said, is the one mixed with water. Right. One must therefore remove it before the salting can begin. Shulchan Aruch Yorek Deya 76.4 offers another solution. One should make a cut in the meat in a place of the wound before salting meat. Okay. The salt will thus drawn out the blood from the area as well. Okay. One who purchases salted meat or poultry and finds the area that is discolored due to the coagulation of blood should consult halakhic authority. So, okay, so what are we talking about here? Let's try to understand. So Shulchan Aruch said, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch said you have to open up this wound and clean out this blood. Shulchan Aruch said no, just if you make a cut, put enough salt in there, and this salt is going to extract the congealed blood. I'm not sure how it works. I mean, but I think like for me, like I would do what I would do exactly as Kitzur said. Just open up completely, clean the blood, whatever is it, rinse it, and then that's it, and you're good. Okay, but this commentary say very interesting case. So somebody bought this chicken, right? So chicken or meat. Let's talk about chicken for simplicity, right? So they bought this chicken, and usually when we buy from a butcher, it's all been salted, it's all been taken care of. We don't have to do anything, unless you buy directly from the shita house, right? When they just did the shit and they give it to you, right? Then you have to take care of it yourself, right? But let's say he bought it from the store, from the supermarket. He got home, and now he see this under the skin, this black mark, which is a problem. So most likely, I'm not sure what the solution is. It's better, I would say, better not to eat it. If possible, just cut off the whole piece, right, as much as possible. So until and throw it away, because as we said, there is we're going to say there is a specific amount of time when after the sheet, or when you're allowed to do all of this cleaning and salting. After that time, after allowed that amount of time, so it's just too late. You're not going to help. So you go to the store. You don't know how long this chicken was there. You have no idea. So maybe it's much past time, and even though it was frozen, or not frozen, but it was a refrigerator, it helps a little, but not such easy case. Okay. So, okay, 1 second, where are we? Continue. When the water to be used for soaking is very cold, one should first place the water in a slightly warm spot in order to lessen the coldness of the water before soaking the meat in it. For if this is not done, as a result the coldness of the water, the meat will harden. So as we all understand, so if water is too cold, right, so meat is going to get hardened as every other food, right? You put it in the refrigerator, it get hardened, right? So the water must be like a room temperature, something. For the blood will not come out afterwards when it is salted. So it's very cold water. To use very cold water is useless. And hot water also not good, or warm water. Okay, so we're going to see. Okay, so we finished with the CF. Time. Okay, we have time. So next CF is number 2. If they forgot to remove the meat, and the meat soaked in the water for 24 hours, both meat and the vessel which are soaked are forbidden. So basically, as we said in Judaism, everything is precise, right? So if they left this meat in chicken, whatever is it, right, in the soaking vessel for 24 hours, it is forbidden. Why? Like logically, this blood will get absorbed back, right? So, or whatever was had to be extracted with the salt, it's not going to get extracted. So let's see, commentary. After soaking for 24 hours, the meat and the vessel both absorb the taste of the blood. So, I mean, it has to go somewhere. So if you're going to, like, as I say, half an hour or whatever we said, some time, like a little time, so it's going to give out the blood, but not going to absorb the blood. But if you store it for 24 hours, that's the big issue. So one more time, the whole commentary. After soaking for 24 hours, the meat and the vessel both absorb the taste of the blood and become prohibited. The meat may not be eaten, and the vessel may not be used to prepare other foods. See, your idea, 105.1. So basically, in this case, we would have to throw out the meat, and I guess you can sell it to a non-Jew. I think you can sell it to a non-Jew. Yeah. Of course, you're not allowed to tell them that it is kosher, but you can sell it to them. Okay, and the vessel you would need to kosher. Okay. Continue. If liver, here we go. If liver has soaked in water for 24 hours, one must consult competent halachic authority. Okay, so let's see. So with liver, it's a little different. So how is a little different? That's how we started our conversation. That it is the water cannot take the blood from liver anyway. So you have to do it over the fire. So, but still, 24 hours it's too much. So common term. At times, liver may be treated more leniently with regard to this law. For being that it is saturated with blood, it may, in the process of soaking, only expel blood that is not absorbed, and the blood and any blood of the water. I'm sorry. One more time, apologize. For being that is saturated with blood, so meaning the liver, full of blood, it may, in the process of soaking, only expel blood and not absorb any blood in the water. So since it's so many blood inside of the liver, so there is they say there is possibility it's only going to give off and not going to absorb. Possible. Since the halacha is dependent on specific circumstances in each situation, one must consult competent halakhic authority each time that this occurs. So I guess the temperature of the water, the surroundings, how hot was in that place also have significant role. Okay. So continue. Sif number 3. So all of them, they're very short. Sif number 3. When on Erev Shabbos, this Friday, one does not have enough time to soak the meat for half an hour before salting due to the impending arrival of Shabbos, or in another situation when there is a time pressure, it is sufficient to rub the meat thoroughly while rinsing in the water, and soak it in the water for only short time. Once no redness remains in the water, with which one is rinsing the meat, one may salt the meat. Okay, so here the proper way, as we said, half an hour. But Kitzur said, okay, if you under the present circumstances, I guess maybe you need to give it to a sick person and he's deteriorating, so you cannot wait. Plus you have to add the time for cooking. So they say you can rub piece of meat like in the water with your hand, squeeze it, I guess, a little, and once there is no more this pink stuff, this red stuff in the water, so you can continue salting, but only it's under this extenuating circumstances. Number 4. If after the soaking they cut one piece into 2, they must rinse the place of cut very well before salting, because of the blood that is present in that area. Okay. So as we said before I read the commentary, so we said wherever blood is sealed inside of the meat is sealed, it's not going to come out. That's okay. But now they had a bigger piece. Now they want to make cut it in half. So Kitzur says, so now that blood was like deep inside of the tissue. Now you made the cut, so it's now on the surface. So you have to wash it. Commentary. When the meat is cut, the blood that had previously been absorbed within the piece is now on the surface of the cut. Okay, exactly. Having emerged from the meat, the blood becomes prohibited. So once it is deep inside the tissue, it's not prohibited. On the surface, it is prohibited. One must therefore rinse the area of the cut before salting to prevent the blood from becoming reabsorbed into the meat, thus rendering the meat prohibited. Okay. So let's do one more halacha, number 5. And it says, regarding the meat that has become frozen due to the cold, care must be taken to ensure that it is thawed before it's salted. It is salted. So basically, if it's frozen, how can you salt it? Right? So it is possible if you do the shechita in the winter, right? And it's very cold outside. So today we have like heat, but in olden days there was no heat. Like in a sense, we understand the heat now, right? So let's see the commentary. When the meat is frozen, the salt cannot penetrate it. One must thaw the meat to a point that is no longer hard. Okay, so when it's no longer hard, then you can salt the meat. Okay, so we got to be very careful. However, one should not place it near the heated oven. So heated oven, as we said, too cold is not good, and too hot also is not good, right? Because why? It's going to get absorbed, for sure. Commentary number 7. The heat from the oven can cause the blood to become so deeply absorbed into the meat that even subsequent salting will not be able to draw out. Right? See below CF28. Okay, it's and I guess at the end where this issue arises again. So basically, that's why one of the explanation why kosher chicken has so many feathers, right? So like remaining of the feathers. Why? Right? Why? Because in non-kosher, the way I'm not an expert, but the way I understand, because in non-kosher industry they do it with a steam. So with a hot steam, they apply to the chicken, and then the feathers come out very beautifully, very easily. Right, but since for us we cannot apply the steam, so they have to plug it manually. That's like one of the reasons. Another reason why kosher chicken is much more expensive. So that's the reason why, because we cannot allow this blood to be absorbed into the chicken itself. However, one should not place it near the heated oven. Okay, so too cold is not good. Too hot is also not good. In a pressing situation, one may soak in a warm water. Okay, so let's see, present situation. What does it mean? Commentary. Warm water is generally to be avoided because one may inadvertently use the water that is too hot. That's the issue. Hot water can have the same effect as placing the meat near the oven, right? And the blood is going to get congealed and absorbed back. The heat will cause the blood to become absorbed to the point that it cannot be drawn out by the subsequent salting process. Thus, one may use warm water only in present circumstances. Okay. Okay, let's do one more. So let's see how long is it. The vessel that is designated for soaking of meat should not be used for any other food-related purposes, because I mean you understand there is a blood in there. Okay, you wash it nicely, but there is still blood absorbed, so you cannot use it with hot water. So if it's in a cold, there is no problem. Since the regular use of this vessel for soaking meat, we are concerned that it may not be cleaned properly, and food placed into it will become soiled with blood. The custom is not to use the vessel even for cold food. And even, I mean, but who would want to eat from this vessel? I don't know. Even to store these apples, right? And then just knowing that there was a lot of blood in there. So, okay. The custom is not to use this vessel even for cold food, and even if it was washed out well. Nidhei Israel 31:3. Okay. However, in the event that one did use it, even for the hot food, the food is permitted, provided that the vessel was cleaned well before this use, and there was no residue of blood. So basically, the explanation is that because it was always used with cold, so and we know that the taste absorbed only when it's something is hot. Okay. So basically, they say, so if there is no residue, you wash it with a sponge, with a soap. Okay, there is say no problem after the fact. Initially, don't do it, but after the fact, okay. Right? Continue. The soaking that is done in this vessel generally does not impart the forbidden taste of blood to the vessel, since it is soaking in cold water, exactly, and for only short time. You see, but if we say for 24 hours, that's a big issue. It's not a short time. Shach in Yorek Dea, 69.7, Taz 69.5. See also, okay, see 14. So, but basically, I just want to add from myself, okay, maybe you remove the blood, but you left the water there, statement that. That's also the problem, could be. If the vessel was not clean, the halachic authority is to be consulted. And so maybe they're not clean, so maybe this blood got into the food. Okay, continue. We have time for one more. So continue. CF number 7. After the meat has soaked, one must allow water to drip off before putting salt on the meat. So make sure that it's dry. It's not dry, but it's just moist, a little moist. So that the salt should not be dissolved by the remaining of water, right? The salt can be dissolved, right? That's not what we want. For if the salt is dissolved, it cannot extract the blood. However, care must be taken to ensure that the meat does not become fully dry, in order that the salt should not fall off it. So basically, it must be a little, it must be moist, so the salt is going to stick to it, right? And cannot be over dried, and cannot be too wet. If it's too wet, it's going to dissolve the salt. If it's too dry, the salt is not going to stick to it. Okay, so let's do one more because it was short, no commentaries. Number 8, the salt used should not be fine, very fine, like the flour. For if it is so fine, it will immediately dissolve upon the meat and will not extract blood. So that's why we use for Kosher, we use something that is called Kosher salt. It should be. It should also not be very coarse. So too coarse is also an issue. So whatever they call kosher salt, that's the perfect size. For it is too coarse, right? And I guess the second, I'm just adding from myself. It's also too heavy. It's not going to stick. It's the pieces are very big, right? It may fall off the meat, exactly, right? Too coarse, too heavy. It's not going to stick. Rather, it should be of average size crystals, similar to the salt form when the salt water is cooked. Okay. It should also be dry, so that it should spread well. I mean, if it's wet, it's gets stuck together. But if it's dry, so we can we can spread out well. So of course, I'm not sure what they call it in olden days and how new the medium quality, but maybe they will prepare it themselves. I don't know. Okay, so actually we have time for one more. One must spread the salt upon the meat on all sides. So not only on top and the bottom, all sides, so that no spot remain without salt. Commentary. As long as the meat is salted on all sides, the blood will be drawn out. It's very interesting. Even if the meat is thick, so it doesn't matter how thick is it. I mean, there is limited thickness, of course. However, if one of the side is left unsalted, the salt will not draw out all of the blood, even if the thin piece of meat. Aruch HaShulchan. So see, our sages knew all of these things. So you must cover it with the salt from all of the sides, otherwise it's not going to work. If you leave one piece, one side uncovered with salt, so it's not going to work. Even the thin piece. Very interesting. The Rama Yorek Deya 69.4. Regarding what one should do in an event that both sides were not covered with salt. Okay, so I'm not sure what he said that, but very interesting. Continue. Therefore, when salting poultry, one must open the fowl well. Okay, so he makes a cut, take all of the organs and put the salt inside. Right? In order to be able to salt them properly, even inside. Okay. After the innards exactly are removed, the bird is hollow. In order to ensure that all of the bird's blood will be extracted, one must salt in both inside and outside. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so we can stop here. So we see why that's just a few reasons why kosher meat is more expensive, right? It's requires more procedures, and plus some chickens or some cows are not going to be kosher because of the internal disease that they would not be able to predict just looking at the cow or looking at the chicken. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Good night. So until tomorrow. Tomorrow is Hilchas Teshuvah. All right. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.